Hi, my name is Heather. Welcome to the Knits and Things podcast. This is episode 24, Spring Break. So, yes, I am on spring break, thank goodness. And our spring break, I'm very surprised, but actually I'm not surprised. Our spring break was not shortened. A lot of the areas around us did shorten their spring breaks because of the crazy winter we had and all the days that we were closed for snow. But ours was not. Our spring break is a regular spring break where we have the week before Easter and then as well as Easter Monday. So some places had spring break taken away. Some places had its spring break shortened. Sometimes it was just like the Easter Monday they had to go to school, so they got the Easter Monday taken away, but our spring break stayed the same. And our the end of our school year did change. The students now have to go until June 13th. Our original date was June 6th. No, actually, I think it was June 5th. Anyway, we're going an extra week. For the days that we were closed, I'll take it, because we were closed much more than 5 or 6 days. We were closed a lot of days. I want to say we were closed 8 days in all. Either 7 or 8. So I think we got out pretty good. And last year, the last day of school was like June 15th, and there were no days added on. So it was, I think we were getting out very early to begin with, so I think the combination worked out well. Although we did go to school very early in August. So our school system starts in August these days. So I don't know. We also have a new superintendent, so I'm sure that's why things are not under the norm. Even next year when we go back to school, the teachers go back to school at the time that the students went back to school this past year. So things are changing. It all works out. It's, still a job. I still work it year round, even though I have spring break, because I have work here with me, and summer break, which is very short these days. It's not even 2 full months. And I do work over the summer too. I'm actually looking at maybe possibly taking a class this summer, but I'm not sure. We'll see. So yeah, it's still work, even with. And somebody mentioned, I think I was watching Knit One Heart too, and they were talking about Wendy was talking about her children's schedule, and her children, she said, go year-round school, and they still get 2 months over the summer. And I'm just wondering how that works, because we only get 2 months, and we're supposedly not year-round. I don't know. So I'm wondering how they still get 2 months off in the summer, when I thought the purpose of year-round school was that it was only about like a 2-week break in between each semester, and that you kind of stretched it out that way. So I don't know. So one year, I had my class partner up with a class that was in California, and we were pen pals. And they had year-round school, and I know we had to be careful to catch them at the right time, because sometimes our letter would get to them during a break, so it would be a long time, in between responses from the kids. So, all right, enough school talk. This is supposed to be spring break, so on to... All right, so this is thing 1. So thing 1, I might as well go ahead and start talking about what I'm working on. This is my Vejante, or Vijange, if you go by the little pronunciation key online. So this is a pattern by Martina Bain, and this is the lace weight, lightweight yarn shawl. So you can see, here's my garter ridge section, which I think I should have done the garter ridge section a little bit longer. I think since I'm using an actual lace weight and not a heavy lace weight or fingering, which is what the pattern I think was written for, if you look at the gauge. So I think maybe I should have made this a little bigger, but I can't see myself using it as a hood, which is why this part would need to be a little bigger, or more towards exactly what she wrote the pattern for. So I think I'll be fine. And it does fit over my head. I'll show you. It does fit over my head. So I think that once I get it done, I think that just means that this part is going to be nice and close to my neck. So, and it goes, a little bit more than halfway around my neck. So I think it'll work, and I'm not gonna worry about it, especially since I have all of this stockinette done. So I think I've gotten pretty far in the stockinette, and you can see it is getting to be, you know, longer. It's definitely wider here than it is down here. And I really like it. I'm knitting this in. I said I'm going to be better at mentioning yarn weights and needles, so let me go over all the details. I am knitting this with the Leading Men Fiber Arts Ghost Light. That's their lace weight yarn, and it is very nice and light. It's very light. It's very soft. It's very... it feels like a cloud. It feels really nice. It's not scratchy at all. Their Ghost Light has a little bit of silk in it. I think it's 80% merino, 10% silk. Let me see if I have the tag. And it's very nice and light. And I am knitting this on my Hiya. I'm sorry, if it was 80% merino, then it needs to be 20% silk, right? For 100%. So there's the tag, and this is the color Darkest Hour, which is a kind of a tone-on-tone dark gray, light gray. It's almost black in the dark gray parts, but very nice. And again, that's Leading Men Fiber Arts. There's their little logo, and I love it. I really like it. I am using size 4 needles, I believe. Yes, these are my Hiya Sharps, size 4, which is 3.5 millimeters. I really like these needles for this yarn. I really like this project. I'm going to start using, I have a little very lightweight stitch marker, removable stitch marker that I'm going to start to use for when to show how much progress I've made. So this, I think I put this in yesterday while I was sitting with my auntie. My auntie was a little bit ill, under the weather, and she actually spent a little bit of time in the hospital and then a rehab center, so I went and visited with her yesterday. So I put that in yesterday. So that's what I did yesterday, that much, while I was sitting talking with her. And the rest of this was done since the last podcast, because I had already cast on, and I was maybe this far into the garter ridge, which is exactly why I think I'll try the removable marker, because I was about here doesn't really show as much progress. So next time I'll be able to show the progress. I'll move this up tonight when I start working on again and be able to show you exactly how much progress I've made. So this is the current knit along that's going on in the group. So if you are working on Viajante as well, or if you would like to work on it, come by and see. There's not a lot of help that needs to be done. It's a very simple pattern, so I don't think we need to help each other any. I think what I kind of anticipated was that we would need a little bit of support and a little bit of encouragement to keep going through all the stockinette. But so far, it's been really nice, and a lot of people are reporting that, oh, it's just a really nice knit. It's nice to grab it and use it as kind of your soothing knit, because it's just plain stockinette. You know, you do have those points where you increase or decrease, but that's really all you have to pay attention to. There's a lot of just plain knitting in between. And it's very nice to work on. Especially, I like it with the lace weight because it's so light and it's very easy on my hands, because that's a lot of knitting for me. I tend to knit a little slower, and I don't think I could ever do like a volume type production. As you see, I finish very little. I kind of work on little things here and there all at the same time to kind of keep my interest. But I can't knit a lot because of my thumb. I guess it's the way I hold the needles. I don't know, but I can't do a lot without my thumb hurting, and that seems to be a lot of knitting for me, but with very little detriment to my hands, because my hands aren't sore or tired at all. So I really like it. So come knit with us if you would like. I do have one pattern as a prize for now. If anybody else would like to donate, feel free. But really, it's just to kind of knit together and kind of get things done. So moving on, the next thing I think I've gotten a lot done on is my folded pullover. This is a pattern by Veera Välimäki. Yes, Veera Välimäki. I have been working on the sleeves for a long time. I got the sleeves to the point where I needed them, which for me is going to be 12 inches. The pattern said to knit until 14 inches, but I have short arms. And when I would hold it up, even if I would pull it way up on my arm, which I think is what tends to happen once you attach sleeves to the body of a sweater, it kind of pulls them up a little bit more. The sleeves are going to probably end a little bit past where I have these. It would always end about, I would always have the sleeve stopping about here when I tried it on as I was knitting. So I think probably even by the time I put it on the sweater and it pulls in just a little bit more, they might be just past my elbow, and that's fine. That's perfect for me. It's supposed to be a little bit shorter. If I knit it to be 14 inches, I think it would wind up too long and it would look odd. It would look like the sleeve was just short for no reason rather than purposely being a 3/4 length sleeve. So 12-inch sleeves for me, and I've attached it to the body. And now there's a little maneuver I have to do to get the pleats into the top, which is the folds, which is why it's named folded. So I've kind of stopped for now. I need to gather my double pointed needles and get that done, but I wanted to be able to concentrate because there's a lot of you take off some stitches and fold it just right using the double point needles and then continue on. So I wanted to be sure that I had uninterrupted knitting time, and I had put these sleeves on and done just 2 rows so that I was ready to start the additions. Ooh. I did just 2 rows so that I was ready to start the folds just about the time that I went to visit my aunt yesterday, and I didn't want to have to stop and worry about counting while I was supposed to be talking. So this is my folded, and like I said, I'm trying to be better with my descriptions. I am knitting this out of Miss Babs Tart, which is a fingering weight yarn, in the Vlad's colorway, which is this beautiful brick red. I really, really like it. I'm knitting on size 5 needles, and I think I did the sleeves on size 4s. I thought I was knitting this on 4s until I went to rejoin the sleeves to the body and discovered that these are 5s. So the main body looks like is being done on 5s, which these are the Clover 5s. And the Clover 5 I think is a little bit different on the millimeter scale. So Clover has their 5s in at 3.75 millimeters, and I think on a regular scale a 5 is 3.50. So I'm not quite sure how that happens, but that's what's being done. So, and the one modification I have already made to this is that I have a folded hem rather than a rolled edge. I didn't really like the look of the rolled edge, so I wanted the little fold there for a little bit more of a clean, crisp look. And I am also going to modify the neck once I get to that point that I'm doing. Once I start the row that has the folds in it, I also need to start some raglan decreases. And from what I've seen in the pattern pages and the pattern notes is that people, the neckline is really, really wide. You can tell from just even the pattern page. So people have been doing more decreases on the neck so that it brings the neckline in. The neckline stops almost at the point of your clavicles there. Is that, wait, no, this is clavicle, so this is maybe just, I don't know. Anyway, it stops way out here, and that's too wide for me. I don't like it when my bra straps or my camisole straps show, so I'm going to bring it in a little bit hopefully until it just covers there, and hopefully it'll still have, it's got a kind of a squared neckline, so hopefully that will be maintained, that shape will be maintained, but it'll be a little bit more modest, I guess you could say. So that was folded by Vera Valimaki. Okay, the next thing, I cast on something new. But, in my defense, this is going to be, I saw this idea from Christy on the Innis Knit podcast, and she is a big baseball fan, and so I'm like a casual baseball fan. I like to know how they're doing. I like to go to games every once in a while, basically just to sit and hang out though, and, watch the game every once in a while. But I don't know. So, she had this idea or she didn't have this idea. She found this pattern, and people have been talking in the Innis Knit group about doing a knit along to keep track of baseball. And so there's a pattern called Cricket. Oh, I didn't write down the designer's name. I'm sorry. The pattern is called Cricket. Look it up on Ravelry in the pattern pages. Sorry. And it's a concept scarf. So you pick out 4 colors of yarn. What I did was, my team is the Nationals, because I'm just outside DC, and I know I won't wear a red, white, and blue scarf. So I picked blues. Their colors are red, white, and blue. Of course, a lot of teams use gray or white, kind of to offset when there's, you know, all those crazy colors going on. So they use gray frequently in their uniforms. And I tried to look up kind of historical uniforms for them, but I know there's a lot of times they have a solid gray uniform that has the red, white, and blue accents, and, you know, on the numbers and the edging and things. So I went with grays and blues only because I don't want a red, white, and blue scarf. And I didn't have any red in my stash, so it kind of worked out anyway. I would have had to go buy yarn or hold a yarn for one red that I do have, hold it double, and I didn't want to have to hold it double when I already have all of the skeins attached anyway, because you're kind of keeping track of it as you go. So, okay, back to the construction. Sorry, a little scattered. You knit, it's a tube that is knit, so I'm knitting in the round. And it's a tube, and you do 2 rows for each game that your team plays. You have the colors already picked out according to if it's an away game or a home game, and if it's a win or a loss. So for me, I have, and I recorded on a little chart there. So home wins are navy, home losses are gray. Away wins are royal blue, well, what I'm calling royal blue, and away losses are the lighter gray. So wins are blue, losses are gray. I thought that was pretty simple. And so far, I've gotten each color in there. I only had one away win. They were away for this section, and they won, and then they lost. And then they were at home for a while, and they won a lot at home, and then lost a little. So this is what my scarf looks like, and it's current up till April 14th. So I just went online and looked up their schedule. I think I found it right on their website, so you should be able to find it for your team too. I just looked up their schedule, and it listed what they've played so far, and on the edge it listed if it was a win or a loss, so it listed the final score, and then on one side it listed, it told where they were. So it's either at whatever or versus whoever to tell if they were home or away. So I kind of like this, and I think it'll be a nice way to keep up with the team. So you want to know what I'm using? So the royal blue is my own hand spun. I'm going to try and take them out, but I don't want to mess up my bag. I kind of have them all sitting in the bag nicely, and it's in an open top bag, so I can just grab it and knit a couple rows when I need to, and then toss it down again. So this is some of my own hand spun that I was kind of confused about what to do with once I'd spun it up, and it's got beautiful sparkles in it and everything else. So I'm hoping by making this a win that this gets used up. So this is for an away win. So I'm hoping that they win lots and lots when they're away. So I've got that for away wins. I've got navy blue as the home win, and I'm using up some scraps. My son goes to public school. The public schools around here, a lot of them use uniforms, and it's a navy blue sweater that they're allowed to wear, a navy blue or white sweater that they're allowed to wear at the uniform, so I have lots of navy blue. Although I've only knit him one sweater for school because he's too warm and he never wears it. So navy blue for home wins. This, I believe, is some leftover encore from a hat that I made him a while ago. And then I also have this navy blue, which is a Classic Yarns Cash Soft DK. And this is what I used for his hat this past winter. If you saw the Mohawk hat, this was a skein that was left over from that. So I've got both of those blues, and they match pretty closely. I think the encore is a tad bit brighter, but hopefully they're not really going to be together much in the project, so I think it'll work out fine. So I've got both of those blues for the wins, and then the losses are grays. I have this unmarked skein from my stash. This appears to have a little alpaca in it. It's very soft, and it's got those long feathery strands every once in a while if you can see them. So that's for that's for an away loss. And then the home losses, right now I'm using this Leading Men Fiber Arts. This is their DK or worsted. This is their worsted skein. Don't get me started on what color it is, but I want to say that their worsted is called Dramaturg. So it's that base, and I really love the Leading Men Fiber Arts bases. They're very nice and squishy. They remind me a lot of Mad Tosh, and the dyeing is beautiful. I really love this in the shawl. If I run out of this, because it's only a partial skein. I knit a trilobite hat out of this for Christmas. So if I run out of this, I will either order another skein of the Lehnemann Fiber Arts, but I don't know that that's even going to match up because of their dyeing process. I don't know that there's still a guarantee that it'll be the same exact color. So I do have this dark gray Knit Picks skein in my stash that I might use if I need to. But since that is a home loss, I'm hoping that it doesn't get used that much. So this is my scarf. Like I said, it was current as of April 14th. I have a couple of days to do to catch up, but it's 2 rows per game, so it'll be easy to catch up. So I think that'll be a nice project by the end of the season. So by the fall, I'll have a shawl, I'll have a scarf all ready to go for winter. And I was telling Christy in their thread that if I don't like the scarf, I might just give it to my son's endocrinologist, because she was the designer, I guess. She had a concept or an idea for the endocrinology department at our children's hospital here in DC, and the Nationals have actually sponsored the new endocrinology wing that's there, that just opened up, I want to say a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, and which is the reason that we now go all the way back into children's when we were coming here locally, because it's a really nice, like, state-of-the-art center to have everything right there, and any kind of endocrine problem can be handled there. But it's mainly, since it's Children's Hospital, it's mainly type 1 diabetes, but any endocrine problems are treated there because they're endocrinologists. So I also have this skein of Barocco Remix that I considered for the light. I don't know. I think the light is working perfectly well. I was concerned about the gauge with that one, but so this is also on standby for backup. That is that scarf. And the last thing I did want to say about that is that the scarf will work for any weight. It's kind of a formula that you do, and it's a free pattern. Yes, it's a free pattern. And there's a formula that you do based on your gauge. You measure stitch gauge and row gauge and how wide you want the scarf. How long you want the scarf, and you can plug in your own numbers. There's a little worksheet that comes in the pattern that you can do. I really just did what she said to do because I figured she was using worsted weight, and so was I, so it didn't matter. I think I'm using size 7 needles because that's what the hand spun needed. The yarns would probably be fine on a 6, but the hand spun definitely needed a 7, so I went with 7s. So that is everything I'm working on right now. This is stalled out, so I'm not quite working on this yet. Again, when I was at knitting 2 Saturdays ago, my friend Trish, hi Trish, helped me to get my Follow Your Arrow back on track. And it was back on track. I finished the 2nd clue. There's the 2nd clue all done. With a little bit of the 3rd clue, because now that I've started the 3rd clue, I'm stuck again. So I've done something. I think I was trying to work on this and count lace while I should have been doing something else. So it's stuck again, but Trish did help me get it started again. So it's coming along slowly but surely. I'll get to it. I also need to start working on my mother's shawl again and finish that up because it's going to be her birthday and Mother's Day soon. So that did get a little bit of work on it. The Follow Your Arrow scarf by Ysolda Teague that everybody did this past winter, and it was very beautiful, and I think that's going to turn out very beautifully, but I keep messing it up, so it's on hold again. All right, so on to thing 2. Okay, so thing 2 is spinning, and for spinning, I have a finished skein. This is my skein from Wool Gatherings. This is the 100% BFL skein that I've been working on. I'm trying to tuck my ties out of the way so you can see the yarn all together. And I know I'm a little shadowy today. I have the doors and windows open, so I feel like there's a lot of sunlight coming from here. I'm probably being very washed out, and not as much coming from here. Even though I turned on the light, I don't think it's doing much because it's so bright outside. So this is my skein. Again, this is the 100% BFL from Wool Gatherings. I did a 2-ply for this, and I tried out, this is my first attempt at fractal spinning, at least fractal spinning on purpose. So fractal spinning is where you take one braid, split it in half, spin one section with the long color repeat, so you use the whole width of the fiber, and then the other half you split it into short bits or thinner bits so that you get short runs of color. So you have short runs of color matched up with long runs of color, which means that in theory all of the colors should line up with each other and themselves over and over throughout the yarn and make a cohesive skein. And I think it worked out. I have bits that are solid red because the two reds matched up. I have bits that are solid green because the greens matched up. There's solid red there too as well. So I think it worked. I'm very happy with the colors and how the colors came out. I think it worked out very nicely. I'm not very happy with my spinning. This I had to spin in more of a worsted spin, and I'm more comfortable with a long draw or a woolen type spin. I usually do a short backward draw, where with this, to get it to be nice and smooth, I felt I was doing more of a short forward draw for worsted. And so therefore I have a lot of curlicues. And there's not really too much you can do. This has not been soaked yet, but there's not really too much you can do about the curlicues. When I ply, I try to pull them and straighten them out a little bit so that hopefully the energy goes into the surrounding fiber and will straighten out just a little, but you're not gonna, especially if there's like more than 3 or 4 curls at a time, you're not gonna get rid of it all. And in some places, and also by stretching it like that, once it plies onto another strand, another ply that does not have the curlicues, it should flatten out a bit. The problem is the curlicues are usually very hard because there's too much twist at that point. So they're usually very hard, and they make that section of yarn a little bit crunchy anyway. So you can see, I don't know if you can see. Yep, can you see that one there? So I tried my best to get rid of them. I was not successful all the time. Here's another part. And so if you can see, it even hangs differently. See that part right there. So I'm not thrilled with my spinning. I'm very thrilled with the colors. I'm very thrilled with the feel of the yarn. There's another one. Except in those curlicue places, of course. And I really just love BFL. If you've never spun BFL before, BFL is that fiber that will trick you because it's 100% BFL, but you would swear that there was silk in it. That's how soft and how shiny BFL turns out to be, in my experience. And I just really, really love it. So I'm going to be looking for some more BFL at Sheep and Wool. So that's it. I did not count to see. I know I got 50 wraps on my Niddy Noddy, but I have not calculated that out to see exactly how much I have. But I do have another skein of this as well, another braid of this to spin up. And I'm going to do it the same way so that I have a matched set. And I'll hope for a cowl maybe, or maybe hat and some mitts to go with it for next fall, maybe for a gift. Although these are my colors. I really like these beautiful fall-ish colors. So maybe I'll keep it. So that was really fun. It was nice to try that and have a planned method for spinning. I don't always do that. I normally just grab the fiber and spin it and see what's going to happen afterwards. Occasionally I do have like 2-ply or 3-ply in mind when I first start spinning, but usually I just grab it and spin, and there's no really rhyme or reason. So, all right, I'm looking at my notes, and this is the note in case you didn't see the last time. This is Wool Gatherings. That I got a couple years ago at Sheep and Wool. And it's 100% BFL. It was 4.2 ounces for each braid. And like I said, I have one more coming, so it'll be 8 ounces all together. And I don't know, very pretty, but, and it's really nice and soft. So I can't wait to see what happens once I soak it, but I can't imagine that it will be any less beautiful than it is now. It'll probably be even more beautiful. So that is what I'm spinning, what I just spun, what I'm spinning right now, like I said, I'm kind of coursing myself into spinning my plain white from my fleece that I got at Sheep and Wool last year. So on the wheel right now, and I didn't feel like breaking it and taking it off, on the wheel right now is my plain white. I had a BFL Cotswold mix sheep. Is that what she was? Her name was Jemima. So I got a fleece that had already been washed last year at the fleece sale at Sheep and Wool, which is very rare. Usually you buy a dirty fleece that's straight off of the sheep. Well, this one had been, I think they had done like a 4-H presentation or something with it. So the fleece was already washed. It was in a bag and it was really light and fluffy. My friend Kelly was with me because I always torture her and make her go to the fleece sale with me. And we kind of I had an idea in mind. I wanted a white small fleece, and we had been looking and we've been talking about the different crimps and the different weights of wool, and we'd been looking at a couple different things. And you know, when you're looking at a dirty fleece, it's heavy because it's got all the lanolin in it, and this was in a bag, and she picked up, she says, why is this one so light and fluffy already? And I looked over and I was like, the heavens parted and angels sang, and it was like, oh my gosh, because it's already washed. And it was beautiful, crisp white, very nice. Well, off-white for a fleece. But it had already been washed, and it was like 3 pounds that had already been washed. So I dropped it off with a local mill and had them spin it up, and it was like $30 to have it processed into roving for me to spin. So cheapest fleece ever, perfect, exactly what I was looking for. But it's kind of boring because it's just white. So I feel like I have to trick myself into spinning it. And so that is on the wheel right now. I'm going to spin maybe 10-15 minutes each day to get it done and get a bobbin full. Once the bobbin is full, I'll let it rest. Maybe I'll let it rest while I spin the other Wool Gatherings braid, and then Navajo ply it, and that'll be 2 skeins of that are done. So I'll kind of have to rotate the 2 in between to make sure I get it done. So that is it for thing 2 for spinning. On to other things. Okay, so for other things you can think, this is where I talk about new things that are coming up. So I'm in a group called Yarn Snobs Incorporated, and they are having a special skein knit along. And I really want to start knitting with them, but I feel like there's so many things that I'm already in the middle of that I haven't started yet. But I do have a plan. So this is my special skein. I don't know that I've shown it before. I might have shown it last time and I just don't remember. So this is my special skein. This is some hand spun that I did from a Fat Cat Knits braid. Do I remember the name? Yes, Cool Madras was the name of the colorway. So it's got a very deep, almost a navy blue inside, and it lightens out just a little bit and goes into a lime green. So you can probably see the places where the lime green and the navy combine as they come out. And then there'll be a section that's just lime green out on the outside. Then it goes to a pale blue, or almost like a lavender out here. And then finally to a solid white. There's very little solid white. The outside is really a mix of the solid white and the lavender. I don't know that there's maybe a little bit that is actually just white. I don't think that has any lavender in it, although it might. That part right there looks a little lavender. So it's definitely a gradient, and I want to do Zuzu's Petals out of this. So that is my plan for this. Zuzu's Petals is a cowl that comes down just a little bit in the front so that you can see a color progression, which is why it's really good for a gradient yarn like this. And I think the pattern calls for 220 yards of worsted, and I think this is 223 yards. So hopefully, if I get gauge and everything, it will work out just right to use up this entire gradient. And I just think that'll be so very pretty. I believe the cast on is at the neck, so it should be navy blue at my neck and gradiate down to the white at the edge. So that's the plan for this. Hopefully I'll get a chance to cast that on during this break. But like I said, I did bring work home. I do have a couple things to do, and I made the mistake of checking my email today, so I have a couple more things to do now. So this, I think, is going to be beautiful. And I'm very happy with this spin. This was the first time I had done a gradient like that. I have more Fat Cat knits to try and do again since I liked it so well. I'm going to try for thinner next time for more yardage, but this was a 3-ply. It was a true 3-ply. I spun on 3 different bobbins, and for the gradient, I think that was really good. So I'm really very happy about this yarn, and I'm really excited to use it. So this is the first thing that I'm thinking of for the things you can think. And the next thing, I was trying to think of where to put this because a new friend that I met at the Homespun Yarn Party, hi Cece, asked me a question, and I thought, you know what, that is a really great conversation starter. She asked me if you could only use one yarn from now on, you could only use one yarn, what would you choose? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what a question. So I asked her, you know, can it be a certain weight of yarn, or does it have to be a specific brand, a specific maker that makes that one specific yarn? And it was kind of like a gray area. And it's like, well, what would you choose? So after some thought, actually, I think I answered it right away. Excuse me. I answered it right away that day, fingering. I would have to say fingering. Most of my stash is fingering. The majority of what's in my stash is fingering, sock yarn. But if you think about it, it's very versatile. If you use fingering, you can make socks, you can make beautiful shawls, you can make baby knits, fine gauge things, beautiful, right? Wonderful. Well, say you don't want to knit at a fine gauge. Say you want something a little heavier. Well, fingering weight held double is like a dream for a heavier weight yarn. Have you ever held fingering weight double for a hat or for a sweater or something? So I just think fingering would cover everything that I wanted to do. I love knitting socks. I love sock yarn. I love knitting shawls, and I love sock yarn for shawls. I have rarely done an actual lace weight shawl. Usually it's lace knitting in a heavier weight like fingering. So I just think fingering would be perfect. And if you did twist my arm and make me choose a specific fingering weight yarn, I would choose Dragonfly Fibers, their Genie sock, which of course I found out at Homespun Yarn Party is also the same base as the Studio sock from Neighborhood Fiber. So I think that if I had to choose one specific yarn, that I should be allowed to choose either one of those, since basically it's the same base. So I should be able to shop at Neighborhood Fiber, and I should be able to shop at Dragonfly Fibers, and I would be set for life, and I think I would be perfectly happy. So that's my answer to the question, but I want to know what you think too. So I'm going to open up a thread in the group, and so feel free to come by. I think this is a really good question. I think it's a good conversation starter and one that could be answered a bazillion different ways. So what do you think? What yarn would you choose if you could only choose one from now on? And, you know, let's talk in the thread and let's see what everybody else has to say. So feel free to stop by and comment on that. And I think that is it. So thank you so much, Cece, for such a thought-provoking question. I think that's going to be a really neat thing to see what other people think as well. All right, so the last thing I have is Mulberry Street, and it's the same thing. This Saturday I actually have my knitting group is meeting. Well, my knitting group. I knit along with the Wegmans knitters here in Maryland, and so if you're part of that, I hopefully will see you on Saturday. If you're not a part of that, but you are local and you want to come by, I think it's from 2 until that we meet at the Wegmans in Lanham, Bowie, Landover. It's the Wegmans off 202. It's right kind of like at a little crossroads. It's not quite Bowie anymore, but it's not quite Lanham anymore. I considered it Landover because it's right down the street from where Landover Mall. I don't know. So it's the Wegmans off of 202 and right off of the Beltway. In their little cafe section, we meet from 2 until whenever you are crazy enough to stay until. So that is it for soon. In the near future, though, Maryland Sheep and Wool is coming, and I'm still looking forward to it. I definitely look forward to that every year. I call it my birthday party. So it looks like the plan is sticking where I'm going to probably go on Sunday. What I would like to do is be able to get away for a little while and leave. My son has lacrosse games on the Saturday of the Sheep and Wool Festival, and I'm already missing some other games, so I feel like I can't miss that one, unless he tells me that I have time off for good behavior. So the plan I believe, is to attend, to wait until, what I would like to do, wait until his lacrosse games are over Saturday and then escape, since it's my birthday, escape and go stay nearby somewhere so that I'm there. So maybe I'll be able to do some things Saturday afternoon, not quite sure, because that tends to be the weekend for his lacrosse games. That tends to be the weekend when we have to travel down to Southern Maryland, and so that never works out very well, to go all the way from Southern Maryland all the way up to Friendship. So we shall see. That would be ideal if I could do that, to leave Saturday, be up there, and then be ready for Sunday to spend the day there. I'm trying to convince my mother and sister to go because I think my nephew would get a kick out of the animals and the sheepdog trials and all that kind of good stuff. So there might be a whole family contingent there from my family. You never can tell. But the plan is right now to attend on Sunday. If something changes where the weather is going to be bad, then my son is going to have to just buckle down and kind of do without his mother for a day, because I really don't want to go spend a day at Maryland Sheep and Wool in the rain. So if it looks like it's going to rain Sunday but not Saturday, I will probably beg out of his lacrosse games and go Saturday. But again, the plan is to go Sunday. So I hope to see you there. I know lots of people travel from all around the country to go there. So if we see each other, I hope we get to stop and say hi at least, if not chit chat, and get to know each other a little better. So if you see me, please say hi. And I think that's it. Yes, that's it for the regular things. I'm going to talk about Gerald McBoing for a little bit. So if you don't care to hear that, although you might want to hear this because it's not about his lacrosse this time, it's about his music. So if you don't care to hear that, I'll see you next time. If you do care to hear about that, I just want to start by saying I love apps. I love them. I feel like I'm a smarter mommy because of apps. So my son plays oboe. My son is very busy. Let me go back and start with that. My son is very busy with lacrosse and the homework and his tendency to dilly-dally and procrastinate. Sometimes it's all I can do to get his homework done. And I feel like each year he gets more and more homework. Although this year I don't think it's quite as bad as last year. Anyway, he plays the oboe. He would like, and I would like, for him to go to one of the public schools nearby that has a performing arts program next year, so that he can do that for his 7th and 8th grade years. The problem is, I missed the deadline when he was going to enter middle school in this area, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. If he had just applied, he could have just gotten in on the lottery for 6th grade. Now that he's a 7th grader and middle school has already started for him, he has to audition in. So his audition is a big deal. I think when they apply to be a 6th grader to go to the schools, they do audition, but it's not as big a deal. But this with him going in as a 7th grader, his acceptance is kind of contingent on the audition and his current grades. And his current grades are wonderful. He always makes all A's and B's. But his audition. So this is his 3rd year playing oboe. And like I said, there's all the other things in our life. Oboe has not always been top priority. I don't always get around to making him practice. It's kind of sporadic. So he plays notes very well, and he's pretty good at remembering what notes he should play, and reading the note off of the page, but reading the music to say what the melody should sound like for a different song, not so much. And as it turns out, his instrumental teacher went out about a month early on her maternity leave, so she had just started working with him on his audition music, and then she had her baby a month early. And he's very cute, by the way. I've seen pictures on Facebook, and oh my goodness, is he cute? Is he cute? But she's not there to help him. And I'm not going to bug her on maternity leave. So I got to thinking, there has to be an app that can help us with this, because I don't read music either. And sure enough, there is. There's an app called iSing, where you can take a picture with your iPad, take a picture of the sheet music, and if the picture comes out right, it's a little sensitive, but if the picture comes out right, the app will play the music for you so that you can hear what it should sound like. So when your mother, who doesn't read music, is listening to you play, she knows if it sounds like a song or if it's just a random string of notes. So that's my Gerald McBoing story, is that we're practicing like mad using this app to make sure that the song actually sounds like a song when he shows up, because apparently his audition is the end of April and we're in the middle of April right now. So he's got just this little bit of room to play around with. So every day I'm making him listen to the song and play the song and listen again. Now play it again. So he's off with his dad right now, but they both have the app loaded and they've been practicing and they've been sending me little clips of what what the day's practice sounds like, so I can hear that. Oh, yep, that sounds like the song again. So, whew, thank goodness for apps. I don't know what I would have done, if the apps weren't around. Just circumstances worked out, and that's what we were looking at. Is now you've got no help going in there, bud. So we are going to definitely use that app to help us, but we also have some other people. The regular music teacher at the school is going to listen to him, and I have a coworker actually whose husband made his living. He played in the Air Force band. That was his job for 20 odd years, is he played in the Air Force band. What better source could you go to, right, than a professional musician? So both of them are hopefully going to help him out. And I thought somebody else mentioned, my classroom assistant wants to be a music teacher. She's doing all her practice certification and everything, and she wants to be a music teacher. So she has a music background as well, so I plan on asking her. So everybody's going to have to kind of work together to help us out. And hopefully everything will go well. So keep your fingers crossed that his audition goes well and that the songs actually sound like songs. So he's got two one bar, or not one bar, I know a bar is a piece of a line, so two lines of one line of two different songs that he has to play. There's a selection 1 and selection 2, and then there's 2 scales. So I'm not too worried about the scales because those are just notes, but I'm really worried about those selections actually sounding like the music that they're supposed to be and not just notes. So let's keep our fingers crossed. So give us, your best wishes for that. And with that, I think that's going to be it for today. So hopefully I didn't ramble on too long. I'm looking at the clock. It shouldn't be too bad. And until next time, I hope your knitting makes you happy. Please stop by and let us know about the yarn that you would choose for the rest of your life. And keep knitting on Viajante and letting us know how it's going. And until next time, I hope your knitting makes you happy. See you then. Bye. So with that, oh my goodness, I just heard, I swear we have animals that live under this part of our, the addition. This is an addition to the house, and I think animals get under there because every once in a while I hear popping and cracking underneath the, I don't know, maybe it's not, maybe it's the house settling over there, but it sounds really weird. All right, so with that, I think that's all for this week. Until next time, I hope your knitting makes you happy.